Discover the heartwarming truth. Cop exposes 12 life-changing secrets about my daughter-in-law. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the backyard filled with the delicious smell of grilled burgers. Laughter danced in the air as children twirled sparklers, their faces lit with the magic of the 4th of July. But amidst this picturesque scene, a tension simmered just beneath the surface. Jake, a dedicated police officer and son of the local factory manager, watched as his family gathered around the picnic table. His heart was heavy for Liz, his daughter-in-law, standing slightly apart from the other guests. Whispers fluttered through the group, each one like a dagger aimed at her past as a single mother that, for some, would never be forgotten. Jake peeked at his mother, whose disapproving gaze cut through the joy around them. "She doesn't belong here," she muttered, her words cloaked in judgment. But the truth was Liz was a dedicated mother. She had battled against the odds, sacrificing everything for her kids. He wanted to defend her, but the uncomfortable strain on his heart clouded his voice. Laughter turned brittle and smiles faltered. In that moment, flames erupted not just from the sparkler lights, but out in the heart of Maplewood, the beloved local bakery engulfed by sudden fire, sending waves of panic through the community. Jake's heart raced. Instinct kicked in as he grabbed his phone. But it was Liz who sprang into action, fearlessly rallying their neighbors, her spirit ablaze even as judgment still hung over her like dark clouds. "Let us organize a fundraiser," Liz declared, her voice ringing out amidst the chaos. She wore courage like armor, unfazed by the scornful stare of women from the neighborhood who held on to their preconceived notions of her. Jake watched in awe as she united a grieving community, mobilizing efforts to help families affected by the fire. It was as if the fire inside her burned brighter than any flames outside. However, the murmurs didn't cease. Some doubted Liz's intentions, snickers trailing behind her efforts. "What does she know about helping others?" they scoffed. Each derisive comment felt like a punch to Jake's gut, as his loyalty to family tangled with his love for Liz. Days passed, the town hall meeting looming like a storm cloud. Tempers flared at family dinners as Jake defended Liz against his mother's relentless barbs, ripping apart the delicate fabric of family togetherness. But Jake knew he had to stand firm. Deep down, he felt pride swell in him as he recalled how Liz had overcome the odds, carrying her daughters and their hopes on fragile shoulders. At the meeting, Jake stood alongside Liz, anxiety coiling in his chest as she rose to speak. Her voice trembled momentarily but strengthened with each word. "I know my past is littered with mistakes," she said, eyes glimmering with unshed tears, "but I'm not just a single mother. I'm proof that love can rebuild what's been broken." Silence fell. Some were moved, their hearts softening, while others remained skeptical and unyielding. Jake's stomach twisted as he considered the mountainous divide within their community. Pride, fear, and longing for acceptance tangled together. As the meeting concluded and the crowd began to disperse, Jake locked eyes with Liz, the familiar spark of understanding igniting between them. Would he be brave enough to choose her? Would they bridge the turbulent gap between family loyalty and what was right? He felt the weight of that unknown pressing down, the unspoken question lingering painfully in the air. Could love change their minds, or would the fear of judgment hold them all hostage? The community buzzed with a mix of confusion and chaos in the days following the town hall meeting. Jake tried to wrap his mind around the myriad reactions. Some neighbors embraced Liz's efforts, pitching in with donations and volunteer hours. Others, however, grumbled in hushed tones, reluctant to see her for anything beyond the label society had slapped on her. Each morning Jake found himself torn. On one hand, the warmth of camaraderie grew stronger among those supportive of Liz, the shared laughter in the kitchen, the children playing together in the yard. On the other hand, animated conversations with his mother grew colder, like an unlit fire in a dead winter. "She's trying to use your family's tragedy to win points," she debarked, her words sharp enough to leave a mark. But as the sun rose brighter that Saturday morning over Maplewood, Jake felt the stirring of hope. Liz had organized a community event, a bake sale, to raise funds for the bakery victims. Inspired by her unyielding spirit, he resolved to stand shoulder to shoulder with her. He knew this was more than a fundraiser. It symbolized a shift, a bridge building between what was broken and what could be mended. When he arrived at the town square, the aura felt electric. Liz stood at a makeshift booth, her face shining with determination. The hustle and bustle around her transformed the space. Kids giggled, neighbors chatted, and laughter floated in the early summer breeze. Jake couldn't help but feel light, as if Liz's energy was infectious. "Hey you," Liz beamed, drawing him into her warm embrace. The moment wrapped around him like a warm blanket. Felt so right. The hurt from the town's judgment melted away with each passing second in her presence. As the event kicked off, people wandered over, some to buy cupcakes, others to lend a hand. Even those who had been hesitant began to soften. Jake observed Mrs. Hargrove, the town's notorious critic. She exchanged a smile with Liz, a smile that spoke of possibilities. But just as things were looking up, a familiar face emerged from the crowd, his mother, arms crossed defensively. "What are you doing here?" she snapped, eyes darting suspiciously around as if searching for evidence against Liz. "Mom, I came to support Liz," Jake replied, determination creeping into his voice. "She's trying to do something good for this town." Liz stepped forward, her heart thrumming in her chest at the sight of the approaching storm. "I won't let my past define me, Mrs. Reynolds. This community needs healing. We can't let fear keep us apart." Silence fell as gazes shifted, drawn to the confrontation. Jake's pulse raced, feeling the tension hanging in the air like an electric current. People leaned in, anticipation building, unsure which way the winds would blow. Would his mother hear Liz's pleas, or would the walls of judgment remain resolutely high? Jake understood this moment was pivotal not just for Liz, but for everyone in Maplewood. He stepped closer to Liz, their fingers brushing, grounding each other amidst the tension. Then the sound of a child's laughter broke the heaviness, lifting spirits momentarily. Yet Jake was acutely aware of the storm brewing. His mother's expression remained dark, and he knew that this was just the beginning. As conversations resumed, Jake's heart pounded with fear and anticipation. He wondered if Liz's courage could break down those walls, or would the division run too deep. With a long glance back at his mother, he realized they were on the brink of something monumental. But would the town rise together or fall apart? The next moments were critical, defining choices hanging in the balance. The crowd shifted, a wave of eyes turning back to see what was unfolding. Jake felt every heartbeat echo in his ears as he stood between Liz and his mother, torn between the two women who shaped his life in very different ways. He wanted to fix it, to bridge the gap, to make them understand each other. "Mom," he started, voice steady yet gentle. "This isn't about judging or fear. It's about healing. Can't you see that?" Liz watched Jake's face, her heart swelling with hope and panic. She longed for acceptance, yet felt the weight of her past anchoring her. If only his mother could see how much she truly wanted to be part of the community, not the outcast they sometimes treated her as. Mrs. Reynolds' glare softened just a little, caught off guard by Jake's unwavering support. "You've always been gullible, Jakey," she said, the nickname carrying a familiar sting. "Do you really think she can change?" For a heartbeat, everything hung in the balance. Liz felt the urge to retreat, to yield to the judgment that had haunted her. But there was a fire in her spirit, fueled by the laughter of children and the supportive murmurs settling among the crowd. They believed in her, and maybe, just maybe, she could keep pushing back fear. "I believe people can change," Liz spoke up, her voice clear and strong, the words flowing like a gentle stream, yet fierce enough to push through rocky terrain. "I may have made mistakes, but isn't everyone given a second chance? All I want is to help this community to heal from the tragedy we suffered. Let us come together, not build walls." The air crackled with potential. Jake held his breath, watching his mother's reaction. Would she deny Liz any further, or acknowledge the truth in her words? A glimmer of surprise crossed Mrs. Reynolds' face, replaced quickly by stubbornness. "And what about the bakery? People are still hurting, and you're trying to cut a deal by throwing a bake sale." Keenly aware of the murmurs around them, Jake's resolve solidified. He stepped forward again. "But that's exactly Liz's point, raising funds to show support, to show we care. This isn't just about one person. It's about us all moving forward together." The words seemed to wrap around the crowd, urging them to hear his plea. Someone began to clap, hesitant at first, but then it spread like wildfire, applause building on hopes and intentions, echoing Liz's dreams. For a moment, the tension shattered into fragments of laughter and chatter. Jake felt it a shift. He glanced at Liz and caught her eye, a flicker of understanding passing between them. But then a familiar voice cut through the noise. "You think this is just a game?" It was Kevin, one of the bakery's former staff members. He stepped forward, his expression a mixture of anger and sorrow. "You're looking to just cash in on our pain." Gasps filled the air. The laughter faded, replaced by whispers. Liz's heart sank. The wound of doubt was fresh and raw. "No, it's not a game," she exclaimed, her voice straining against the hurt. "I'm trying to give back to help us heal." Jake sensed the gathering storm inside the crowd. Some nodded. Others remained unconvinced. He felt the thrum of uncertainty. Would they spiral back into division? Or could Liz's courage break through the lingering shadows? The moment teetered and he clenched his fists. This was bigger than just today. It was about the fabric of their community. "Can we rise above the hurt?" He called out, desperation pushing each word. "Can we transform this moment into something that helps everyone?" He scanned the crowd. They were at a crossroads. In that fragile silence, Jake realized the way forward wasn't just Liz's burden. It was the entire town's challenge. Nobody moved. Yet the weight of decision hung thick in the air. Could they commit to this change? Just then, someone took a step forward, an older woman, visibly shaken by recent events. Her voice trembled as she spoke up. Maybe the path ahead shimmered uncertainly. And Jake knew then that something significant was about to unfold. He held his breath, leaning into the possibilities. Would this be the moment Maplewood chose healing over hurt? The older woman drew closer, her shuffling steps breaking the tension like the first raindrops of a long-awaited storm. Maybe we need to listen," she echoed softly, as gasps swirled through the crowd like fallen leaves. Her statement hung in the air, a flicker of fragile hope igniting in the hearts of some, while others exchanged doubtful glances. Jake felt a wave of relief wash over him. Quiet encouragement from a few more people surged around, nods and murmurs filling the silence. But he could see as many faces were still set in stony disapproval. It was clear that this was a pivotal moment. Liz, sensing her heart racing, took an uncertain step forward, emboldened by the woman's courage. "I'm here to listen too," she said, her voice steady. "If you have doubts or fears, let us talk about them. Just don't walk away before giving this a chance." Isn't that what the bakery was about? Coming together? Jake watched Liz closely as she spoke. He admired her strength, yet he saw the faint flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. It reminded him of how human they all were, each one battling their own ghosts. Somewhere in the crowd stood his mother, arms tightly crossed, her expression still harboring stormy clouds of resentment. Moments passed like an eternity, but the older woman's voice rose above the rest. "We've lost so much," she said, her voice cracking slightly. "But gathering here, listening to one another, to our pain could start something different. Maybe we need to heal together, rather than apart." A ripple of agreement swept through some of the onlookers, and for the first time, Jake felt something shift in the energy. It seemed the wall of discomfort was beginning to crack. Then Kevin stepped forward again, defiance written all over his face. "I don't want to speak with my pain, I want actions. Where will this change lead?" His question echoed painfully in the space between them, grabbing attention like a hook. Liz inhaled deeply, heart hammering. "It leads to understanding," she said passionately. "It starts with us addressing what we've gone through together. It might be uncomfortable, but does anyone think it's too far to reach out?" As she voiced her hopes, another member of the former bakery staff chimed in. "But what if we don't want to forgive her?" The question hung heavy, pressing against the air with doubt. "Then don't," Liz replied without hesitation. "You don't have to forgive to heal. You just have to choose to work through the hurt instead of letting it build a wall." More murmurs spread throughout the crowd. Jake noticed, little by little, some people softened. They too felt the stark wounds, but now there was a choice before them. "Are you all willing to talk about where we go from here?" he asked, his voice carrying over the rising wave of conversation. "Can we pull together as a town?" Liz looked over at him, bright-eyed, though fear still hung in her expression. She was fighting against a legacy of hurt, a lifetime of feeling like an outsider. Yet here she was bare, open, and genuinely wanting to help. Together the word floated through the air, compelling and gentle. Yet, just as hope flickered brighter on the horizon, Jake heard a loud retort echo from the back of the crowd. Together? She took everything from us. It was another former employee of the bakery, the pain in her voice unmistakable, driving nails back into an already raw wound. The hope teetered again, uncertainty rippling like a stone thrown into still water. Jake clenched his fists, heart racing. How do we turn this moment of division into a chance for unity? This wasn't going to be an easy road, but somewhere along the way, it felt like something bigger was at stake, the heart of Maplewood itself. The crowd's breath seemed to hold a collective pause, a moment of truth on the precipice of decision. Could they find their way through the storm? Or would the past keep tearing them apart? As Jake waited, the next heartbeat felt monumental. A question hanging in the air, what would be their answer? The silence thickened, wrapping around the crowd like a fog. Jake scanned the sea of faces, emotions flickering like candle flames. Anger, sorrow, confusion. But there was also something else, a glimmer of curiosity, a hint of hope. Liz stepped back, her expression shifting from determination to uncertainty. For a moment, Jake felt a swell of pride for her courage, but it quickly turned into worry as the crowd began to stir again. Is healing what we really want? Kevin's voice rose just above the murmurs, cutting through the tension. Feels safer to stay angry. Feels more powerful. Exactly. Another voice chimed in from a different part of the crowd. Staying angry gives us control. What are we supposed to do if we forgive? Just let her walk away without a consequence? Jake felt his heart sinking. They were spiraling back into bitterness, the seeds of division sprouting anew. He took a deep breath, summoning every bit of resolve within him. But what has holding on to this anger really given us? His voice reverberated, steady and bold. Has it brought us peace? Has it healed the wounds or just deepened them? As his words settled, he saw a few heads nodding, hesitant but open. Underneath the clamor, voices went quiet, the intense emotional wave gradually drifting toward reflection. Jake pressed on. What if we could take our anger as valid as it is, turn it into something constructive? The idea hung in the air, pulsing with possibility. Yet a wave of dissent surged again. Constructive? Feels like we're just pandering to her. She doesn't suffer like we do. And there was his mother, her arms still crossed, brows knitted in frustration. Jake's stomach twisted. He wanted her to see what he saw. A chance to turn their pain into strength. Mom, he called out, his voice cracking with urgency. Isn't it worth exploring how we can move forward? Together? For a moment the crowd turned to her, a breathing space carved in the midst of chaos. His mother's gaze was stormy, but Jake could see the flickers of uncertainty in her eyes. It hurt to witness her struggle. She was holding the weight of years, but she was also a part of this community. You think we can just forget? She asked, her voice a mix of pain and desperation. No, we don't forget, Jake replied, passion igniting in his voice. We learn. We grow. We find new ways to live, to honor our losses. The bakery was about creating something sweet together. Let us not let our anger spoil that. We owe it to ourselves to try. A ripple of murmurs spread through the group again, energies flickering with newfound curiosity. Then the older woman, who had spoken up first, took a step closer again. I've lost family, my husband. I never thought anything could fill that void. But I found something unexpected here. A community that listens, that wants to heal. Why not choose that road instead of the one that keeps tearing us apart? Because if we spend all our time lashing out, we might just miss out on what can bring us together. Her words washed over the crowd, calming the rising tide of anger. Jake sensed a shift, like the beginnings of a thaw. Maybe we need to start by sharing, Liz suggested, her voice softer now, yet still resonating with urgency. Each of us has a story. Maybe by sharing our truth, we can weave a tapestry of understanding. Hope ignited anew. Eyes softened, and a hesitant nod passed among the onlookers. Jake let out a breath he didn't know he was holding, feeling the tension start to ease. But before they could dwell too long in this moment of potential unity, another voice from the back rang out, sharp and accusing. And what if I don't want to be part of this? What if I can't? Jake's heart sank anew, knowing this was only one side of the struggle. Just as the air felt lighter, darker clouds of doubt were looming nearby. Could they navigate through the honesty and hurt? Or would the weight of unresolved frustration swallow them whole? As uncertainty grew again, Jake realized only one thing was clear. The path ahead would demand bravery. And he wondered, would they find the strength to walk it together? With the murmur of discontent still echoing in the air, Jake felt the weight of every gaze on him. He could hardly breathe, the tension sparking around him like static electricity. The crowd had begun to coalesce, some leaning in, others crossing their arms tighter, the air thickening with mixed emotions. "Let us hear from you then," called out Kevin, his tone challenging. "If you don't want to be here, then what's stopping you?" The voice from earlier, a younger man named Ryan, broke through again, raw and trembling. "I lost my sister to all this anger. She got lost in it. I'm scared that if we forgive, we're saying what happened was okay. It's not okay. Not for me, not for her." A collective sigh passed through the community, squeezing Jake's heart. How could he convey that movement forward did not mean acceptance of past wrongs? Each painful loss was a thread woven into their shared suffering. "Ryan," Jake said, stepping down toward him, his voice gentler now, "it's not about saying what happened is okay. It's about refusing to let that hurt define who we are going to be moving forward." Ryan hesitated, his eyes shimmering. The crowd, hearing the softness in Jake's words, began to lean closer, their collective vulnerability unearthing a deeper connection. "What if sharing our stories lets us breathe again?" Liz chimed in. "What if we press into the pain instead of running from it? We turn our sorrow into something that connects us? Like a bridge." A woman in the back, silent until now, raised her voice. "But what if I don't feel strong enough to share? What if my tale just harkens back the old hurts?" Jake took a step forward, holding her gaze. "It's okay to feel weak. It's okay to feel scared, even angry. It's just that together, we can create a space where those feelings are not the end. Instead, they can become a beginning. You're not alone in this." Slowly, the crowd began to nod, agreement blossoming like flowers breaking through the last frost of spring. Jake allowed himself a moment of relief, the tension lifting slightly as he saw the potential for healing tangible before him. "Let us take small steps," he urged gently, catching Liz's eye and nodding to her encouragement. "Can we share one small truth? Just a piece of our story? If we hear each other, we might just find what we need to move forward together." At first, silence reigned. Sarah, a quiet woman with soft features, was the first to rise. "I lost a child," she said, her voice steady yet trembling. "I buried my heart with him. If I forgive, does that mean I let go of the love I have for him?" As she spoke, tears brimmed in her eyes, igniting a flare of empathy. The crowd felt her pain as if it were their own. "No," Jake spoke, his voice rich with compassion. "It means you allow that love to grow in a way that honors his memory, a way that doesn't keep you shackled to the anger or pain." Within moments, other voices joined Sarah's. Different tales of loss and grief echoed through the crowd, weaving a tapestry of shared humanity with each word. Some were stories of loss, others of struggle, and yet others held whispers of hope. And as the stories continued, Jake climbed a little higher on the rungs of hope. He didn't have all the answers, but perhaps together they could uncover them. But just as the community began to feel the warmth of connection, the shaky voice of a newcomer interrupted again. "Why should we even fight this? What's the point? It's only going to get messy again." Fear shadowed the moment, lurking in the uncertainty of their progress. Would they fall apart again? As Jake looked around, he knew he had to regain control over this fragile flicker of hope before it flickered out. Would they find the courage to stand together in the face of doubt? Or would the darkness of despair cloud their path? Jake held his breath, the newcomer's words hanging in the air like a thick fog. The faces around him turned pale, doubt weaving their expressions into a tapestry of uncertainty. His heart raced, pumping adrenaline through his veins. This was the moment where everything could either shift toward healing, or spiral into despair. "Hey," he said, raising his voice to pierce the gloom. "Let us acknowledge that fear. You're right to be afraid. We've all felt it. But what if we lean into that fear together? What if we let it guide us instead of pushing us apart?" The murmurs began to fade, replaced by a hushed curiosity. Eyes shifted back to him, searching for any sign that they were still navigating a shared path. He noticed his hands trembling slightly, a reminder of the weight of responsibility he carried. "Think about it," he continued. "Every single person here has faced their demons. The questions, the anger. It's okay to be scared of getting messy, But I believe the mess is where we find our healing. Ryan nodded cautiously, eyes glistening. Sounds nice in theory. But what if we just make things worse? What if we can't handle it? Then we support each other. Maybe it's messy, but aren't we already messy? Life has thrown us in every direction, Jake replied, stepping off the edge of the platform and into the crowd, closing the space between them. Sometimes it takes a little chaos to create something beautiful. A solid foundation, built on our truths and our struggles. Liz chimed in, her voice breaking through the hesitance. Sharing our stories is like untangling a thread. Still fragile, but you have to start somewhere. Finally, the weight shifted as Sarah spoke again. Her voice shaky but determined. I want to try. I think I can share a bit more. Her breath came in halting whispers, exposing the raw vulnerability beneath. Please do, Jake encouraged, instinctively moving closer to her. I didn't just lose my child. I lost my way. The world felt hollow, like I was walking through a fog. I've spent so much time not living, just existing. Maybe if I share more, I can find the courage to step back into the light, she admitted, tears falling freely now. The crowd hung onto her every word, the energy trembling with a mix of empathy and empowerment. Encouraged by her bravery, one by one, other voices began to rise. Each story spun fresh threads into the fabric of the gathering. They spoke of heartaches and regrets, but also dreams and memories. Moments that flickered light back into their eyes, connecting them in ways they never expected. Jake felt a surge of energy as the atmosphere changed. The despair that loomed like a storm cloud transformed into attentive hope, protective yet inviting. The messy conversations were a testament to resilience, and he stood back, taking it all in. These were not just stories anymore, they were testimonies of survival. But then, as he savored the exchange and the blossoming warmth, Kevin's critical voice broke through again. That's all well and good. But what happens when we face the real battles ahead? What if this is just temporary? Are we going to fall apart again? Silence wrapped around them, a hard knot in the pit of Jake's stomach. The question hung in the air, daunting and unyielding. Then we do it together, Jake said firmly, steeling his resolve. We lean in. We hold on to each other through every storm together. And even when it gets messy, we won't let go. We won't give up. His heartbeat synced with the rhythm of hope in the crowd. He could see the flickers of strength rekindling in their eyes. They were scared, yes, but also willing to tread down this uncertain path. And as the moment stretched, filled with possibilities, one final voice emerged from the back. What if it's not just about our own healing? What if we could help others too? Jake's heart skipped a beat. Could they be a beacon of hope for more than just themselves? His gaze first landed on Ryan, then spread to the others. The question hung between them, crackling with promise. What if this wasn't just about facing their own fears, but about uniting to change their community, perhaps even the world? Eager anticipation filled the air as Jake realized they were on the cusp of something profound. The dance of healing was far from over. But would they dare step beyond their pain to transform it into something that could light the way for others? The journey was just beginning. Jake watched as the room shifted from uncertainty to a bubbling sense of hope. The pulse of the group throbbed with possibility, a fragile but burgeoning unity forming before his eyes. Yet the shadows of doubt still lingered in the corners, flickering like the dimming light of a fading flame. Let us not just think about healing for ourselves, Jake said, his voice strong and steady. What if we used our journeys, our stories to inspire and uplift others? There are people out there who need to know they aren't alone. We can be the light for them. The energy in the room crackled. Each listener turned inward, weighing Jake's words against their own experiences. A few faces lit up, pondering the idea too big and too real to ignore. Liz spoke up first. I remember feeling completely lost during my darkest days. But I found power in sharing. It's what opened my eyes to new possibilities. If we could help even one person, wouldn't it be worth it? I do want that, Ryan admitted, leaning forward. For a long time I felt like a ghost in my own life. Helping others, it could bring purpose to everything I've been through. Jake felt the weight of encouragement fill the room. Sorrow linked them together, and now it seemed so would the desire to create change. Their collective energy was powerful, like a river eager to break free from a dam. Let us start right here, Sarah suggested, her voice cracking with excitement that took her by surprise. We could create a support group. We could share our experiences, and then reach out to those who are struggling in our community. If we found strength in our mess, surely others could see the same? As she spoke, Jake's heart swelled. The idea bloomed like wildflowers after a spring rain. They could become mentors, guides, or simply a safe haven. The fear that had stitched them together now transformed into something vibrant, and alive, hope and purpose woven seamlessly through their shared stories. Kevin, the skeptic, still looked uncertain. And what if no one shows up? What if it doesn't work? Then we try again, Jake replied, meeting his gaze with fierce determination. Sometimes even in failure we find lessons. We can't let fear of the what-ifs hold us back from trying. The murmurs in the room began, hesitant but growing. Ideas floated into the atmosphere, each one more emboldening than the last. They exchanged thoughts and potential names for their new effort. It sounded good, vibrant, alive, a way to channel their despair into something positive. Right then Jake could feel a shift. These people weren't just candle flames flickering in a storm. They were gathering wind beneath their wings, ready to soar. Hope was no longer the faint light in the distance, but the very energy sparking in each heart. Yet in the bustle of enthusiasm, a sudden chill crept through the air. What did the future truly hold? Would this newfound passion last? Would they really be able to make a difference? Jake shook his head, striving to silence the doubts that echoed dangerously in the back of his mind. Whatever comes, we do it together, he whispered with a careful urgency, the words spilling out like a promise. But we have to take the leap. We owe it to ourselves and to those waiting for just this kind of hope. The room fell into a reflective stillness, holding tightly to the gravity of his words. There was no turning back now. The journey stretched ahead, uncharted and exhilarating. Then a voice broke through, firm and direct. But what about the people we might face? The ones who might not understand what we're trying to do. Jake's stomach clenched. Would they be ready for the pushback? The doubt from the naysayers would test their unity. As the challenge loomed, he wondered, could they stand strong amid the criticism? Hope mixed with fear in that breathless moment, and the questions hung ripe in the air. What would they become as they stepped out into the unknown? The true test was only just beginning. The air was thick with anticipation. Faces turned to Jake, a blend of hope and hesitation reflected in their eyes. He could feel the weight of their expectation. He hadn't just stirred a longing for change. He had ignited a fire, and now the flames danced dangerously close to doubt. Let us think about it, Ryan said, breaking the silence. We'll be risking a lot. What if we put ourselves out there, and people don't respond the way we'd hope? Jake nodded, recognizing the brave honesty in Ryan's words. It was no easy feat to step into the light when shadows hovered close, but they were all grappling with it, each confronted by the same fears. Every revolution starts with a few voices, Sarah chimed in, her confidence returning. Someone has to take the first step. If we don't, what's the alternative? Staying silent? I don't want to go back to being invisible. Liz leaned in. This is about connection. We're creating a community where everyone can feel empowered to share their stories. It's not just about us anymore, it's about everyone who needs reminding that they're not alone. A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. Slowly, the chill began to recede, replaced by a warmth that was at once comforting and invigorating. Jake could see the pieces clicking together, a mosaic of shared experiences forming a safer space for all. We could start with a meeting at the community center, Kevin suggested tentatively, just to test the waters. See who shows up. If we can reach a handful of people, that essay start. I'll handle the flyers, Sarah volunteered, voice steady. We can spread the word through social media too. It's surprising how quickly information travels online. The collaboration energized them, and they began discussing strategies with a liveliness that only continued to build. Ideas flowed, as each individual added their spin to the group vision. Occasionally, doubts flickered back to the edges, but they were swept away by the force of commitment that began to seal their unity. The emotional weight that had hung in the air, heavy and threatening, transformed into an unfamiliar lightness, a giddy thrill of possibility. It was as if a weight had been lifted, uncovering a side of each person that had long lain dormant. But then, just as exuberance reached its peak, Liz's expression shifted. What if we prepare for the backlash? What if people do misunderstand our intentions? A hush fell over the group again, the heartbeat of hope grounded by reality. Jake felt a shift in energy, the spark dampened. Pushback would be part of the journey, he said quietly but firmly, feeling the urge to reassure them. We have to believe in our purpose. If we stand united, we'll be strong enough to face it, whatever it may be. Liz's eyes softened and she nodded slowly, as if trying to convince herself. You're right. Our mission is more significant than fear. We have to trust that we're doing the right thing. Determination washed over him again, an affirmation. They were entering unfamiliar territory, but the giddiness of change was swirling around them, breathing life into their resolve. I think we can, he said, letting the words linger in the air. Together we can change lives, including our own. As they made plans and laid the foundation for their support group, a palpable energy thrummed through the meeting room. With every step, they shed layers of doubt and fear, revealing the resilient souls that had always existed within them. Yet, even amid the rising tide of optimism, there was an undeniable undercurrent of tension. Out there, beyond their walls, lay an unpredictable world of judgments and expectations. The future would not come easy, and as Jake's heart raced with excitement, it also quickened with apprehension. They had shared their vulnerabilities, tasted hope, and felt the thrill of possibility rise like a tide. But would it be enough to withstand the storm of reality that awaited them? What awaited them when they finally stepped into the light? The sun dipped lower, painting Maplewood in an amber glow as they huddled in that makeshift meeting room, their hearts kindling with dynamism. Plans emerged, each idea shining brighter than the last, a structure born of shared grief. One that would transform personal pain into something monumental. They drafted flyers, their creativity spinning colorful ideas into words that leaped from the pages. Together we rise, hope anchored in stories. Jake couldn't help but feel buoyed by the harmony filling the air. Laughter easing the tension and hope binding them together like a family. Just as laughter erupted over a particularly funny idea for an icebreaker, a hard knock shattered the ease like glass shattering on the floor. The door swung open, revealing Jake's mother, her face pinched with concern, rage curling at the edges of her lips. Are you serious, Jake? Her voice pierced through the laughter, turning heads with a force that silenced the room. You're throwing yourself into this mess? This is all a foolish fantasy. Jake's heart sank. The joyous mood tasted sour as her words punctured the atmosphere. Yet amidst the bubbling fears, something awakened within him, the resolve forged from shared vulnerability. Mom, this ain't foolish, Jake spoke softly yet firmly, crossing the room toward her. This is more than just talk. We are trying to bring healing. Healing to our community. Her sharp glare reflected years of hesitation. A wall built from doubt and division. And what do you think you'll accomplish? What if you fail? What if people talk behind your back, behind hers? She gestured toward Liz, a fierce look directed at the very heart of their mission. To the side, Liz stood tall, encouragement radiating from her like warmth from the sun. I know the shadow of my past lingers, Mrs. Reynolds, but redemption is found in striving to make things right. People feel alone, just like I once did, and I don't want anyone to go through that again. We can be a light. We can help others, and that starts with all of us, Liz declared, confident yet genuine. The air between them crackled, anticipation thickening like fog. Would his mother allow another narrative to bloom, or would she cling to the familiar discomfort of judgment? Change is hard, Mom, Jake urged, taking a step closer. Yes, it would be easier to push Liz away, to hide away from pain. But that won't help anyone heal. It won't heal you or our family. Her gaze softened, as if a distant memory was flickering to life. So you will risk your reputation. All for her? It's not just about Liz, he replied, his voice relentless yet tender. It's about us, this town. We've lost so much, and sticking to anger, it doesn't heal anything. As silence descended again, the walls surrounding Jake's mother began to tremble, nerves revealing chinks of vulnerability. He felt hope swell within, as if buoyed by unseen hands. Seeing the uncertainty in her eyes, Liz took her chance, her voice laced with compassion. Trust takes time, Mrs. Reynolds. I've had to build trust with myself day by day. But we can't overcome our past unless we're willing to face it together. I know how lonely it feels to be judged. Can't we be better than that? Waves of murmured energy began to roll through the room, others leaning in as if waiting just as eagerly for a bridge to form between these two women. Finally, Jake's mother managed a small nod, resolute yet hesitant. I don't know if I can forgive just yet, she admitted quietly. But maybe I need to understand why you're doing this. The room felt lighter as gasps turned to nods of understanding. Jake approached her, hope igniting his voice. Thank you, Mom. That's the first step. You don't need to have all the answers today. He made his way back beside Liz, their silent support igniting a fire that warmed everyone's hearts. For the first time since the bakery fire, the weight of full hearts began to dispel the shadows darkening Maplewood. Laughter returned as people exchanged ideas, optimism weaving their thoughts as they plunged into the specifics of their new community initiative, a series of storytelling workshops. Each individual would share their stories, truthful, raw moments braided together. They would find solace in understanding, the madness of anger quieted by the comfort that they weren't alone in their suffering. Days turned to weeks, and with each meeting Maplewood transformed. Jake marveled as conversations flowed. Community members began stepping up, strangers bonding as experience after experience transformed them, like a river flowing into a vast ocean of understanding. And then, just as they were on the cusp of their debut event, Jake's phone buzzed with an unexpected call. It was an invitation to speak at the town hall. Are you ready for this? Liz asked, her eyes shimmering with nerves and excitement as they sat together beneath the bright lights of the community center a week later, on the eve of their storytelling night. Yeah, let us do this together, he replied, squeezing her hand gently. It wasn't just confidence. It was trust, a willingness to step into the unknown together. As they both spoke to the crowd, eyes bright and spirit soaring, Jake could feel the heartbeat of renewal pulsing in every person surrounding them. This was just the beginning of their journey, and when the stories unfolded one by one, they found not just healing but laughter, hope, and a raw authenticity that pulled them closer than they had ever imagined. Maplewood began to shine anew. In the end, laughter flowed freely through the nights. Shadows lifted as whispers of connection turned into a chorus of understanding. They discovered the beauty of vulnerability, the power of shared stories, and the truth that healing was not the absence of scars, but the journey walking through them together. The past would always be a part of their story, but it was no longer the story itself. It was the backdrop to a greater narrative, one of resilience and community, woven together through love, acceptance, and unwavering support. Now the task ahead lay in building a bridge that would last, a series of workshops and shared experiences that would honor every heartbreak and every moment of joy, lighting the way for others in their journey to find their voice. As he glanced sideways at Liz, her radiant smile sparked something profound within him. Hope, love, a determination that stretched beyond their struggles. At that moment he knew they were ready. Let this journey of transformation inspire you to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support and be counted among the true fans who understand the power of community and connection. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Help spread the love.